In this episode, we sit down with Chesney Blue, a registered dietitian and the co founder of Blue Wellness, which is a mental wellness practice committed to holistic healing for communities of color. Chesney opens up about her journey from childhood influences that shaped her perspective on food, mental health, and launching and scaling a thriving private practice. We dive deep into the intersection of nutrition, mental wellness, and entrepreneurship. And Chesney shares the behind the scenes mental load of being a business owner, especially in the wellness space. So, if you're a founder or a future female founder dreaming of starting your own wellness brand or practice, and this episode is really filled with real wisdom and resources to guide you on that path. Chesney, it's been a little minute since we last reconnected with you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me onto your podcast, Nia. Good to see you again.
Oh my gosh, of course. I'm so excited to talk to you. So, you and I met during the pandemic
Yes.
when I taught at your yoga in the garden event, which was such a
Yes,
beautiful
yes.
event, by the way.
Mhm. Mhm.
It, it was during a time back in 2020, and it was so nice to finally see some faces in person and pour into ourselves and to each other, as especially as Black women. And so, thank you for that experience.
No problem. And thanks for coming and doing a yoga set as well as we did sound bowl a meditation
That's
too.
right.
So that
That's
was really
right.
good. We had a lot of good fun. A lot of people came out. It was just something to
Mhm.
just kind of ease people's minds and spirits. I just thought I was like, we need a
Mhm.
women's wellness event during this time, and it was. I think
Mhm.
we were into COVID for at least like 6 months or so. Yeah, we just needed something, and I know I needed something too, so that's why I really
Yeah.
thought about it. So yeah, yeah, it was a great event. Nice, beautiful garden too.
Yeah, and it was nice to see your community that that you treat and support community of women. There were a lot of women, Black women especially, and it was really nice to see that. And I love seeing you on the gram. I love watching you really practice what you preach.
Thank you, thank you. I try. I'm not perfect, but I try.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I see you grocery shopping and eating healthy foods and working out and,
Mhm,
just pouring into yourself along with the community. So I
mhm,
love that
mhm.
you're really showing and not just telling. It's really inspiring to see.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. I try and I like to give those examples because a lot of people, they just say they don't have the time to do it or they can't do it or whatever different reason why they can't get into a groove for their well-being. And so I try to show those examples like, "Hey, I'm kinda busy too." So, you could sneak it in there. You can sneak this in there, this self-care, and just help with improving your wellness journey by doing little things like food shopping instead of eating out or, working out all the time too. Exercise really helps with my mental clarity. So, that's why I do it.
Absolutely. And I was really looking forward to talking to you because personally, I find that food directly, well, because it's directly tied to our emotions, it's sometimes
Mhm.
the hardest journey to really overcome. Have you had that experience at all? I know that was really my experience personally.
Yeah, definitely, especially when I was a little bit in my like 20s or so, definitely food, like food is something that we need to have, but it's also, and they teach us this in school too, it's also a way to bring people together and commune and communicate and
It's so
just like
true.
be with your family and friends and everything. So it's for a joyous occasion too. So
Yeah.
definitely food, can definitely plays a role in all people's lives as to like, for a joyous occasions or in regards to like emotional eating and things like that, food can be, a big part of your life. And that's why I went into nutrition is because people, food is so a big part of their life, but people sometimes didn't know how to really manage it as well, in
Yeah.
regards to eating balanced meals, what can help with certain chronic conditions. So, yeah, I wanted to be that educator, that teacher to help with, implementing food into your lifestyle in a healthy way.
I find that after having our second child, I went on a whole like weight loss journey and food eating healthy food journey, and it was just so interesting. I didn't realize how emotionally connected I was to food, and
Mhm.
you're right, it really does speak to, like, the experience of it all, connecting with family and things like that, and I was really, like, really, really into, like, baked goods, anything, like, warm, baked, doughy was, like, my thing, and I've
Oh,
never
sweet.
considered my right, I've never considered myself, like, a sweets person until I had to
Mhm.
cut it out, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm getting a little agitated."
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
But it was yeah, it was a journey. So, can you take me back to early years and tell me what role did food and, health and wellness play in your household growing up?
So yeah, my parents, I wouldn't call them health nuts, but they were very health conscious. My mother, she has a degree in physical education. Even though she didn't go into that, she went into like banking and finance later in
Mm,
life. But and then my father, he was a college athlete and he was a teacher and a basketball coach for a local high school. So he was always into fitness, eating well too. Like my parents gave us supplements to make sure that we didn't get sick during the winter months
mm,
and everything like that. There was always fruit. Like a lot of families growing up, there was always a fruit bowl, and sometimes that fruit got rotten because
mhm.
we weren't touching it. But my mother always
Yes.
made sure it was full just in case we wanted it, honestly, because she
Mhm,
wanted to promote a healthy lifestyle too. But also, my parents were on different diets. They tried different diets as well in regards to their wellness. So growing up watching them with different diets to help with managing their weight, that's kind of how the household was, and that like I picked up a slight interest in nutrition with that too. And yeah, but we always had balanced meals. We always had home cooked meals for the most part. We maybe ate out once on the weekend growing up to with like fast food, but we always had balanced meals like your protein, we had your starch and a vegetable. Every meal always had to have a vegetable. We couldn't eat without a vegetable. So, and they made sure even when we started cooking our own meals, like our parents always checked in and make sure that it was a good balanced meals. We were, nutrition and food was a big thing because we always had a lot of family gatherings with extended family too. My grandfather always got us together and made sure we had a big family. So got us together and had like different family events, cookouts, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Those were the big family gatherings. And then we always had cookouts at like rotating at each other's homes. So yeah, food was always a big part of those celebrations and gatherings too.
mhm. Yeah, I do find that, like, food especially for like ethnic races like black people, we really do gather around food
Yeah.
holidays, and we make it such an experience, even just like preparing the food, the way that our ancestors did it, always sitting
Hmm.
around something and making it like a whole process and experience. And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
when did you know that you wanted to pursue a career in nutrition and wellness?
So that's a good question, and I always like to tell this story that involves my grandfather, and everyone's so like, wow, really? That's what it was. I was like, yes. So I was probably between the ages of 7 and 9, and I went to the doctor with my grandfather. He always had to go to the doctor. It felt like maybe monthly he was going to the doctor all the time. So one day he was watching us, so I was like, let me tag along with you to go to the doctor. He had a quick doctor's appointment. And I'm sitting in there with the doc with my grandfather and the doctor. He's doing his checkups and stuff like that. And I don't know what adults are really saying. I'm not paying attention. But then it was towards the end of the doctor's appointment. I asked the doctor. Now, mind you, I'm between 7 and 9. So I'm just talking to another adult, like, yeah, well, like why are we here? But so I asked the doctor, like, what's one thing my grandfather could do so he doesn't have to come to the doctor so much? And
Mm,
he, like, stopped and paused and answered my question. It was just like, he needs to go see a dietitian. He needs to change his diet. That's what it is.
uh,
If he changes his diet and works on his diet, that can help him so that he doesn't have to come so often. He was a diabetic. So I was just like, okay. So after that, I started looking up what a dietitian does. I went to the library to see, like, hey, what does a dietitian do? I didn't really see dietitians, and later on when I did start looking for dietitians, they didn't look like me, and they didn't look like my community. We grew up in Newark, East Orange area growing up, so it was predominantly Black neighborhoods. So they didn't look like me, and I knew at that age that well, we're not gonna really my I know my culture really isn't gonna listen to and follow
Mm,
people that don't look like them because they're just like,
mhm,
"No, how can you take away some of my cultural foods?" Because my family is from the South. They came up during the Great
mhm,
Migration, from South Carolina and, Georgia, and they like their cultural foods. So we have and I knew then, I was like, "We need, a dietitian that is familiar with the area, looks like the people they're trying to serve, and, just help with incorporating those cultural foods into a diet in a more balanced and healthy way too." So that's what that really started my, dietetics journey. And just growing up too later on, there was, I don't know if you remember, it was a show on BET called Heart and Soul,
mhm,
and it was with Dr. Rowe and, a fitness expert, I think Mocha
mhm,
Lee, I wanna say is her name, a fitness
mhm. I know who
expert,
you're talking
and
about.
they had, I think it was a 30-minute show, came
Mhm.
on the weekends, and that was the first time I saw a Black nutritionist, a Black dietitian.
Wow,
Yeah,
the
and
first
so
time.
yes,
Wow.
yes, so that's like, I watched that show religiously, and they really did have a
Mm,
lotta good health, moments
information.
information, yeah, on that show, and there when I saw Dr. Rowe, I was just like, "Oh, there are people in this field, it's a diverse field, let me, go and pursue that." So that's how I got into the dietetics journey. I always say it really was my grandfather, with his, health and medical issues he had. That's why I
That's
wanted to
such
pursue that.
I love that story because you, as a little girl, you felt safe enough and empowered enough to not only speak up to an adult, but to say it to a provider when many adults won't do that for
Oh, yeah.
themselves.
Yeah, yeah. I'm amazed at myself too every time I tell that story because I just thought it was just being me, honestly. It was really just being me. That's how I was. And some people now they say they would call you like precocious, and that word wasn't really used that much back then in the 80s. So
Mhm.
I didn't know. But yeah. So that's my story with how I got into dietetics. And I'm surprised too every time I tell that story, like I really talked to that man, that doctor.
That is so funny. How did your grandfather respond to what the doctor said?
He just smiled, honestly, and just shook his head like, "That was really it," and he went about his business. We went back to the house. That was it.
Yeah, yeah. So as you grew and you learned more about what a dietitian did you like talk to your grandfather at all, or was there like some sort of connect, or was it until like later on that you started to learn that?
Yeah, later on, when I went to college, that's when I really started learning the science of nutrition. So then,
Mhm.
yeah, when I came back home from college, I was always and they were asking me too. The family was always asking me,
Mm,
like, "Hey, can you write me a diet plan, a nutrition plan?" Things
mm,
like that, and I would help them too, and then if they did have some type of issue that, nutrition can help with, then I would just always step in and give them some advice or give them the tools they needed to help with the management and treatment of whatever they were going through.
that's great. That's really clutch when your family can just, like, really guide you in that
Mhm.
way. And so what inspired you to start Blue Wellness? I know you own it with your sister, right?
Yes.
And you guys
Mhm.
own it together. What
Yes.
inspired you guys?
Mhm.
And she is a therapist. What kind of therapist is she again?
She is a licensed clinical social worker as well as she
Mhm.
specializes in relationship and sex therapy. But she
Yes.
also has clients and treats clients with depression, anxiety,
Mhm.
the general
Mhm.
stuff too. So she does that. And
Wow.
we just thought we both went into healthcare field, me nutrition, her studying psychology,
Mhm.
and we just always, connected and said that, hey, when we both graduate, like, let's start a business. Basically, we need this in the community.
Yeah.
And we didn't, like I said, from, jump, we don't see people that look like us in our community starting
Mhm.
these businesses. And is definitely needed, honestly. And so, and later on, I'll probably even talk about that too, as to why that need was there. But we definitely needed it, and so we just got together, we stayed focused because there's a lots of things to do with starting a business, um, and, like, my sister was still in grad school at the time, but I was working, And so, yeah, we kinda, like, just split the task list up. It was like, "Okay, you do this, you do that, so we can get this business up and."
Mm,
Oh, yeah,
mm.
so that's why we just did, and we wanted to create a community, that people can come to for that physical and mental well-being to help improve that.
What's it like working with
Black
family?
women and their families too, so yeah.
Yes. What's it like working with family? My husband works in his family business as well, so I get to see, from the inside out what it's like, and it can be very, very powerful, but it could also be, I know, very stressful. So what's your experience like with working with your sister?
So I'm sure you know, yeah, we are sisters, okay? We are 2 years apart and
Like
growing
my
yeah.
girls. My
Yeah,
girls are
yeah,
2
we're
years
2 years
apart.
apart, so, we definitely, we have our differences. Sometimes we do squabble like sisters, like, it is what it is. I tell people, like, "It is what it is." We may not always agree on stuff and, we have our little squabbles, but overall, we are, we're still sisters. We're respectful. Our parents taught us to have each other's back and still be respectful and just help each other out too, so, it's a growing it's less we're learning lessons with working with each other because we are both
Mhm,
different in how we execute things, but we try to
mhm,
work with each other's energy to just help with accomplishing the business goals and to make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. So we definitely like work well together with because we have the same common goal, which is to help bring holistic services, nutrition, and mental health services to the community. So that's why
mhm,
that's that. Like when we start to remember our purpose and our mission as
mm.
to why we started this. That trumps everything really. We go back to that and we just say like, okay, we need to get this done and work together. So yeah, but it's not all
Absolutely.
roses, and I'm sure your husband says that, and you see it too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I find that like differences can be really, really necessary. Like
Mhm, true.
you don't want to partner with someone who is exactly the same because they're also going to share your weaknesses. So
Mhm, mhm.
you want to be able to fuse off even in, partnership in a marriage. I just find that like when people can shift the mind like reframe the mindset to really embrace the differences, they get a lot further, really.
That's true, that's true. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
definitely
so
true.
what are some of the early struggles that you guys experienced, like, starting the business?
Well, I'll tell you this, like, just finding office space was difficult at first.
Mm,
I was very persistent with getting our first in person space, and because a lot of owners didn't really want to lease rent out to new businesses because they felt like
mm,
they didn't always last so long. But I was persistent, and eventually found a good space to be in Montclair. So
mhm,
that was one struggle from off the bat. And then just really getting clientele, you have to constantly market, and
mhm,
network, your business, getting like the people in that and the people that need help, getting them in for the services. That's always, sometimes can be a struggle too, because it ebbs and flows with how the economy is basically.
mhm,
Nutrition and mental health services, those like people still see those as optional wellness services, basically.
mhm,
So you do it if you got it, you do it if you have the money or you have the time, you just do it during those times. But when the economy isn't doing as well, people really aren't coming out as much for the help needed, as well as they might lose a job too. So they don't have that service in regards to healthcare or even the resources, the funds for the healthcare services, wellness
That's when
services.
they need it the most, really, though. Like, when you're
Exactly,
going through
exactly.
when you're
Mhm,
going through things and you really are
mhm,
struggling, I find that people often listen, people I don't try to convince people of anything, but I do
mhm, mhm,
find that it's like I'm constantly preaching that it's so important to pour into ourselves before anything.
mhm,
Because if
mhm,
you're not good, your family's not good, the job that you want isn't good. Like
mhm.
you really do have to come first. And so it's funny that you say that people still look at it as like a luxury. And I find that to be
Yeah,
true too.
exactly, exactly. People
It's
still
not.
look at it as a luxury, and I mean, right now, we don't take health insurance, so that's a major thing too, because health insurance can be people always say like, "Oh, why don't you take it?" But the health insurance companies make it very difficult for you
Yes.
to, like, accept, health insurance, basically all the paperwork plus the reimbursements.
Mm,
It's like they try not to reimburse you, basically.
mm,
For small businesses, you can't always, like, rely on that because of it, because they may not reimburse you for, like, you left off an I. I mean, the dot from the I, like, stuff like that. They won't reimburse you for little things like that, or
mm.
maybe one number is off or something like that, so then they just always just reject your service.
Your
So
claims,
it's
yeah.
your claims, basically, yeah. So a lot of people, a lot of practitioners, honestly, I've noticed they stop taking, like, really good ones too. They really stop taking health insurance. But eventually, I know for nutrition services, we are working on getting the health insurance, be able to take health insurance. But
Mhm.
we kind of started where we didn't take health insurance, and that's a major that can be a barrier at times too for some people. But we try to make the services affordable as much as
Yeah.
possible for folks. And we do
Yeah,
do a
and
sliding scale too.
yeah, I was gonna ask actually, and do you guys do, like, packages of some sort? Like, if someone comes to you with their
Mhm.
need, then do you, like, assess and say, "I think you need this amount of, like, session," or, like, how does that work?
Yes, we do have packages. We do take a certain amount in regards to the sliding scale
Mhm.
for services. But yeah, and usually I tell people, at least get the 3 package deal, the 3 session deal,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
I'm not gonna be able to tell you everything in one session on how to
Right.
clean up your diet, basically, or how to help with this chronic health condition. You're not going to get it from one. And a lot of people expect that too. They expect like a whole 2 week diet plan, like all this checking in and everything like that from just that first session. And that's not always the case, because there's a lot of things you got to unpack with these sessions too. So like, you may
Mm.
come to me for one thing, but then when I do an assessment, it's probably a whole nother thing that you got to work on to
Mhm.
be able to accomplish that other thing. And I usually, most of the times too, I honestly always guide the client to change that goal. They change it on their own, but from my work with them, it's just like, "You really, I realized, like, I don't have to focus on that. I actually really need to focus on this," which is what I probably assessed in the first session, basically. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I help with that too. But usually I always say at least do 3 sessions with me to, like, really see some change, to see where you wanna go, and to help with guiding you to that goal that you reached out to me to help you with. So, yeah.
How much of it do you find is mindset versus, like, knowledge and resources? Because we're
My
in a
god.
time we're in a time where we have resources and knowledge, like, overload, and that's a whole whole 'nother thing because that could be very overwhelming, but
Mhm,
people could have
mhm.
all the resources in the world, but if they don't have the right mindset, it's never gonna work. So what's your experience with
Exactly. Mindset is probably more than anything than the resources. And I always tell people too, I was like, a lot of times you know what you need to do to help with this particular issue you have, but it's about that mindset, getting in, like, finding that commitment, finding that consistency. That's what we're really working on. And I even probably even do some mental health counseling with a lot of my clients too,
Mm,
because of just helping with changing their mindset on how they see food, how they see their bodies,
yeah.
and just how they can incorporate certain things to say like, "I'm so busy, I can't do anything." Well, I don't have a magic pill to tell you like, okay, to give you that time to do it. Like, you really have to force yourself and find, like, time, spaces in your schedule to do the work, basically. There is still going to be work to be done. And people talk about, like, the big craze is the GLP-1 medications, injections.
Mm,
But I always tell people, like, you still have to follow a special diet for that GLP to really work the way you want it to work and how you see people being successful on it. There's still a special diet plan that goes along with that medication. So you still have to
yeah.
put that work in.
For it to
Mhm.
last too, because you don't
Yeah,
wanna just
yeah.
depend
To
on
be
something, you
sustainable.
wanna yeah, you have to change your lifestyle
Mhm.
habits so that you don't just rely
You
on
do. You
something.
do. You do.
Definitely, yeah. So, what advice would you give women who want to break into the wellness industry, but they don't know where to start? They want to maybe have a private practice and they're not sure of where to start.
Well, first I would say just make sure you sit down with yourself and write down and think about what is the purpose of you starting this business. Like really have a clear picture of your vision and mission for this business and where do you want to see it at. But don't like be so hung up on it that you have a little paralysis and not do anything or whatever. But really sit down and say, like, what is the purpose of this business that I want to start right now? And
Mhm.
then once you get that, I would say is to start studying people that are in the wellness field and not
Yes.
necessarily and it's sometimes it doesn't have to be someone who's doing exactly what you're doing in that field. You could
Mhm.
look into other things like watch and follow certain people. They're not even
Mhm.
in the wellness industry, but I kind of watch their hustle, their grit.
Mhm.
I watch their marketing techniques and things like that to help with planning out the business and getting and promoting the business basically. So just find, but all it's good to find people in the space that you're in too, to see how they're doing it. And like everybody doesn't share everything on social media or the internet. So just because you see them doing certain things, like there's
Mhm.
probably a story behind it, honestly. And it didn't come easy to them either. So, you gotta think about that. Don't think like, oh, they look perfect, they did this, that, and the other. First off, like once they get to a certain level, trust me, they have a team. It's not them just doing everything. They have a
Right.
team, and
Right.
people don't talk about that. But yeah, they hire people to help them with a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, you just have to think about like what your needs are, what your purpose is with starting this business, and then like I said, study, and then honestly get out there and network. I feel like in healthcare, if you're doing a health wellness based business, that you can't always do that digital marketing.
Yeah,
That
that's
doesn't
true.
work. Like, especially in healthcare, because I really see myself as a clinician
Mhm.
because I do medical nutrition therapy. Like, I went to hardcore schools that were very clinical. And
Mhm.
so, like, in order to get your name out there, you have to talk to your colleagues, your other clinical colleagues, because really
Yeah.
most of my clients I get through referrals by word of
That's
mouth.
true.
Like, I
Same.
don't always get it from what I post online. What I post online is
Mm-mm.
fun. I know it gives a visual of who I am, but yeah, like in healthcare, I feel like you really got to
Mhm.
hit the pavement and network with people in your industry, people outside. Like, you got to talk to doctors. For me, anyway, you got to talk to doctors because they're the ones
Yes.
writing those referrals and telling their clients, like, hey, you need to go see
Yeah.
a registered dietitian or a nutritionist. So, you really have to like do some networking. And I find that networking really does help with getting the business name out there. You'd be surprised. So many people has put me and my sister's business out there so much just talking
Mhm.
about us in rooms when we're not in those rooms. Like that
Mm.
really helps. And like really it's basically relationship building. Like work on that relationship building.
Absolutely. I have the same experience, and it's really like a B2B partnership because,
Mhm.
honestly, like, when the doctor refers patients or when another clinician is too full, they're not gonna go on
Mhm.
Instagram and look up, like, they're
Yeah,
gonna
no.
reach into their Rolodex, their phone, and just know the people that they're gonna send.
Yes.
And it's the same with meeting clients in person too. When someone is really, struggling, they're going to ask their friend or their family member, "Hey, do you know anyone?" And then they're going to be
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I use X, Y, and Z." So it really is so much of just person to person
Mhm.
networking. You're so right
Yeah.
about that. I think we
That
forget that.
networking is key. Yeah, and people forgot that during COVID because we were just so online and very digital,
Yeah.
but you gotta get back to, like, that face to face, honestly, especially in the
Yeah.
wellness industry, I feel, because
Absolutely.
everything is kinda hands-on in the wellness industry, the healthcare industry, so I think, you really have to get that face to face
Definitely.
experience.
And people are looking to connect really with you, especially as a
Mhm,
provider and as a clinician. They're not really looking to see like what you look or sound like on social media, even though
mhm,
I do find that
mhm.
it's helpful to have, advertise, get messages out there, be at top of mind, talk about the importance of certain things. But really, when you're finding your clients, it's really connecting with them offline,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, and so how has your own mental health journey been impacted by running your practice? How are you managing it? How is it?
I mean, in the beginning, it wasn't bad at all. I was definitely managing things okay, and then I feel there was a turning point during COVID.
Mm,
I feel like people are just different now
mm,
mentally. And it's really like I always say, like, my mental health is pretty good in a way, but it's other people that I interact with is how they're dealing with. I'm gonna be honest, it is. It's like how other people like deal with their mental health. You have to make sure that you're good so that you don't offend anyone and like just the
mm,
person may actually need help too. So being able to discern and recognize that is something that, I'm always constantly working on too. Right before COVID, maybe 6 months before like COVID became a big thing, I got really sick actually like that illness basically, did affect my mental health because I was just always tired, fatigued, not
mm,
knowing what was going on with me and everything like that too. So that did affect the mental health. So then like people still acting all like out there and a little bit not right, especially when COVID hit. I think like a lot of people just stopped really thinking and really processing things, and it's very
yes.
understandable because that was a lot on people. So, yeah, so, like, me dealing with, like, a health issue, and then it went right into COVID, basically, that was very, like, taxing on me too. But really just leaning into my support system, there goes that relationship building again too, that I mentioned
Mhm,
earlier is, like, leaning into my support system. My family is a really big support system.
mm,
I have a small, close circle of friends too that, I'm not always out there. I know I post a lot going out to different places, but I still have like a little very small knit like friend group. So leaning onto that support system to help me with dealing with certain things and to guide me to different services if I needed them, that was very helpful too. So I will say I basically lean on my family and friends a lot, my community to help in regards to, like, mental wellness and things like that too.
are there any specific resources, communities, or tools that have helped you on your entrepreneurial journey that you wanna recommend to anyone?
So, yeah, we have invested into some coaching. We had a,
Mhm,
finance coach. We did get a business coach, Christy Jackson Muhammad. She's big on, social media, but she definitely is a loving we've met her in person too. She's based, in Houston, but she has a lot of like online services and digital products that you could go to her store and purchase if you can't get to Houston. But Chrissy Jackson Muhammad, she's a women's CEO, business consultant. We
mm,
utilize her for coaching. Also, going back to like the mental health part, is I worked with what is her name? Dr. Lawanda Hill. She's based in
mm,
California and she focuses on high achieving women who are in leadership positions. So outside of my business, during my daytime job, I am a public health director. So during
mm,
that's why, like, with being sick and managing the public
a
health
lot.
program we had to do, that was a lot, and it definitely affected, my mental, well-being. So, like, she does sessions, one-on-one sessions as well as group coaching on for high, level, high achieving women and how they navigate their workspace, being either the first in that position, the first Black woman in
Mm,
it, or being the only. And sometimes in public health, when you get to a certain level too, as a director, you're just like, you can be really the only person in that field that really gets who you are, and it knows how to navigate certain things. So you don't really have peers basically. And like
mm.
her program, and group coaching and stuff like that helped out a lot too, where she really helps with you, navigating, the corporate life or the work life, depending on what you're in. So that helps too. So that's another thing. People don't talk about who's helping them and who did you reach out to in regards to coaching.
That part.
People
That
get
part.
they hold it in, but I'm always talking about it, and I found Dr. LaWanda Hill because I was like, "Let me use LinkedIn a little bit more." So I just put up a message on LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn page, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm looking to network with, senior level, I think just women in leadership or something like that." I put up on there and a message on there. So please, send me people that are doing some things. And someone responded, a man actually responded to that post. He's a old colleague of mine. And he was like, "Hey, I know this person, Dr. LaWanda Hill." And then I had looked into her. So just putting it out there too. You shouldn't always hold everything in. Putting like you're
Yes.
out there, you never know who else can be that resource or who else even needs that resource, that helps out a lot too. So like people use your LinkedIn uh um to like get some movement going in regards to your business too. But and he referred me to her and she has like a whole great website. You should really check it out. With women in leadership, basically Black women she
Mm,
focuses on in leadership and how to help with managing and navigating the work life. And honestly, she even helps you works with you to see like, is it time to move on from what you're doing right now, and
mm,
like creating
mm,
a plan for that too. So yeah, she I think has she's a licensed psychologist. She's based in California, but you could still use her services as well for different things that she has. So, yeah, and also for the business, I would say for people to just get into different networking groups, chambers of commerce, if you have that in your area, business improvement organizations that we utilize those services too to just help with strengthening our business.
yeah. So her name was Dr. Lawanda Hill, you said?
Yeah, Lamonda
The
Hill.
coach? That's a
Mhm,
great
mhm.
resource. That's a great resource.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will tell you the one thing that I've noticed from every guest is that they've all paid for some sort of coaching or
yeah.
accelerated
Mhm.
program.
Yes. Uh-huh.
When I really I thought about that the other day because I always like to find themes and I'm putting together something for people because I have so many conversations with amazing strong leaders, women leaders and entrepreneurs and I'm like, what are the themes? What are the dots? That is one strong one. And I will say
Uh-huh.
I've had that experience as well, paying for coaching,
Mhm.
definitely. Accelerating even a startup accelerator program, that's really what helped me even just
Awesome.
take myself seriously as a business
Mhm, mhm.
because it's like you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
I feel like people sometimes get afraid of entrepreneurship because they feel like they have to reinvent the wheel. And it's like
Huh.
I can't come up with something new, like everything's taken and it's like you don't have to reinvent. You just have to know what you want, do it your way and then learn from people who have already been there.
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
yeah, that's
It's
a
all
great
about
tip.
learning from others, knowing what questions to ask too. Sometimes if you don't think the question is great, still ask it, because yeah, you don't know what you don't know, basically. So it definitely is helpful too, and that's like I said, that's something that people don't talk about. Like, no, we
Mhm.
do, and it's an investment, honestly.
Yes,
But
it's
you
worth
know,
it.
we were able to get a few business grants to help with paying
That's
those.
great. That's
So
great.
it's there are resources out there for you in regards to that.
And I would say it's necessary really because it's
It
like
is.
even if you can't pay for it initially, like just reading and,
Mhm,
YouTube, just knowing the
mhm,
people that you really want to learn from and embody, having that vision and then consuming whatever it is that they offer. So many people sleep
mhm.
on just reading now because we're so used to just
Girl,
watching and it's like read. It's right
you
there.
don't wanna
People
read
give you the
anymore.
Oh my gosh, people give you the playbook. Just read. I
Yeah,
read every day and it's so helpful.
you are so right. I was just talking to my sister about that too, like, "Yeah, I kinda noticed," and I was in a meeting where people was like, "People aren't reading anymore." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." Like, I mean, yeah, I'm telling you, that COVID period really did a number
Yeah.
on us that we'll probably be studying for decades,
Oh,
honestly.
yeah.
But yeah, like, we do have to, even I sometimes have to force myself to read a little bit too, a
Mhm.
little bit more, and I have, like, goals. I was like, "Okay, let me read 20 or 30 pages of this book right now."
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
it definitely, I know I've reduced in reading too a little bit, but, like, still, I still do it. But
Mhm.
yeah, but reading is something that we definitely have to get back into.
Absolutely. So if you could leave a future founder with one mantra or lesson that has grounded you, what would it be?
What has grounded me? That's a great question. I think really just establishing and creating a community
Mm,
that really helps with grounding me, because when you create this community, like you said earlier, everyone's not the same. We're not thinking the same. And like hearing different opinions and thought processes on a particular subject, that actually grounds me, because I'm thinking like one thing and going really fast with it. And then people are just like, no, 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 think of it this way, basically. And I have a few people in my community that's like that too, that really gets me to like think a little bit more globally and see different perspectives on a particular issue, especially with what's going on in this country now. So, just the community, having a strong community that helps with grounding, building that community helps with grounding. You think like your business should go one way, or you should do this one service in your business, and then maybe someone in the wellness space that you're trying to create tells you like, no, but the people really need this. And really hearing that like I said, that helps with grounding me too. Just having that strong network to really be comfortable, and creating a safe place to
mhm,
just tell me how it is, to like not be afraid to tell me, or be think that they're going to offend me to
mm,
tell me certain things too. So that definitely grounds me a lot. And just being around more positive thinkers, people that are going to be in your corner. There's a lot of negativity out there, basically, and you
yeah.
really have to mind who you keep in your space, and that always helps too, just because everyone can't be in your space.
Mm,
Everyone
mhm.
in your space, to be honest, to really get to where you're trying to go, everyone can't be in your space. So you have to be, very particular as to who you put into that space too. And that helps with creating that community to ground you, basically, to make you like stop and think about certain things.
Yes, I definitely agree. And it's such a big reminder to remind yourself everyone can't be in your space. Everyone doesn't deserve to be in your space just because. Just because you've known them for a while or whatever it is, doesn't mean that they deserve your energy in your space. So thank you for
Mhm,
that.
mhm,
Thank you for that
yeah, definitely,
reminder.
yeah.
So
Yes.
we're coming up to our last question, and it's a question that I
Yeah.
ask everyone. What does hustle mindfully mean to you?
Wow, that's a good question. And I do like the title of your podcast too. I was just like, "Oh, I like that. That's what's oh, I see where you're going with this." But just hustling mindfully, I think it just means that you're being respectful and more conscious of like where you are and where the people you interact with are. You probably even talk about emotional intelligence a lot, and that's a big thing that is talked about in my profession too. And just knowing like where you are and where other people are, and you don't have to hang up too much on where other people are, because sometimes I think as black women we have to be a little bit more selfish with our time, and energy, basically.
Mhm.
So, yeah, just being aware of your surroundings while still pursuing those goals of yours, without
Mm,
people getting in the way, because there's gonna be people who are gonna try to stop you, and they may not consciously be trying to stop, but they, like, unconsciously are trying to stop you, basically, and it's just like, yeah, you gotta learn how to navigate that, basically, and you have to just learn how to navigate that and still, like, go and hustle to reach your goals. So
Mm,
being just mindful of how people interact with you versus like, okay, how does this help with my goals? I think that's what that means in that sense of
mhm,
just being able to focus and go to reach those goals of yours that you're trying to hustle to get to. And I think also like that hustle mentality is all because we just want a safe and healthy life
mhm,
for the most part.
mhm,
And so,
mhm,
unfortunately, we do have to hustle to get to that because of all those barriers and roadblocks and just people just trying to like break you down and just like distract you.
mhm.
We have to do a little hustle to kinda navigate that, to go, like, in between and try to, like, avoid it or put it over here so that, you're, like, straight focused. So, I
Wow.
think would be that's my thinking of it. So and that's how I do move too, to be honest. There's a way to do it without being super disrespectful, but if people do feel disrespected, like, that's not your intention, and that's honestly sometimes something that they have to deal with and not you. Uh,
Mhm, mhm.
that's how I am.
Wow.
Like with a lot of my communication, and I don't have time for the nonsense. So,
You said so many great things, you really did, and
so yeah.
especially you're so funny. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I love what you said about people will try to deter you, and it doesn't have to be maliciously because sometimes it's, like, the most well-meaning, like, parent or friend or family who, because of their own experiences and negative
Mhm,
experiences, they're
mhm,
trying to, like, protect you, and so they will try to talk you out of certain
mhm.
things, and really having that inner resilience to hustle
Yeah,
through that is definitely really, really important.
mhm.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. This was so
Yes.
fun.
This was fun. It's a great podcast. I'm glad
Yes.
to see you doing it. I'm always following your
Thank
pages
you.
too and everything to see like what are you up to next, So
Yes.
it's good that
Yes.
you're doing the podcast. We need more platforms like this too, I think, to just
Yeah.
get the word out and to help with people, especially black women to find that
Mhm.
balance, and that
Yes.
community and resource.
And where can people find you and Blue Wellness? Let them know.
So our website is bluewellnesscenter.com. On social media, our business, you can find us through Blue Counseling and Wellness Center. My Instagram page is Blue Chip Nutrition. You can find me under. And then for my sister, my co-owner, she is NJ Sex Therapist. You can find her on all socials for that too as well. And on LinkedIn, you can find me at Chesney Blue. So those are basically all. It's easy to find us on social media. So. Hi.
Yes.
So, yeah, you can find us on that.
Thank you so much. And look, I love just partnering and networking. So I look forward to more things together in the future.
You too. Thank you for having me. I definitely appreciate
Yeah.
this, and I hope to see you soon.